Hello guys, and welcome to another Red Life Studio episode. Please subscribe and give me a like, and share my videos if you're enjoying them. Also, feel free to leave me a comment below. Now let's begin with today's stories.
I, 34M, met my wife, 32F, 7 years ago at a party. She was the out-of-your-league girl no one hit on, and I was the awkward boy in the corner trying to not stare. Eventually she was introduced to me by the host. We bonded over a shared love of darts, went on a few dozen platonic outings together, and after one beer and darts-filled night a year later we wound up in her bed and in a relationship. A year later she proposed to me. She's the power person in our relationship. I am working as a chocolatier, she's a vice president in a larger corporation. She works long days and longer nights, I cook and keep the house clean, and work 5 days a week in a small artisanal shop downtown. We're pretty high-end, so I am making good money, but she's making way more than twice of my salary. So she buys the toys for the house, including a new set-top box for the TV. The set-top box has a screensaver mode where it rotates pictures in your Apple photo library. Last week, she was still at work. I came home from my day and the TV, which I'd used to watch a YouTube video that morning and definitely had turned off, was on screensaver. On it were pictures that must come from her phone, showing her, in our living room, one of our female friends, and a guy I've never met in very explicit poses. The pictures moved around the room, so I think there must have been a fourth person, taking pictures with her phone, but I didn't see that person. What was weird was that she was wearing a bandage on her hand, something she'd done that morning after complaining about RSI. I left the TV on and was very shocked, but decided to leave the screensaver and see what she had to say when she came home later that evening. When she came home, the pictures seemed to have disappeared. They haven't shown up anymore since then on the TV. I asked her if she'd been home during the day, because the TV was on, and she said she'd come home during lunch to pick up a USB stick she'd forgotten in her computer at home. I tried to ask her about the pictures, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Now, I have to add something. I am not a very experienced person in sex matters. I am an introvert and barely had relationships before her. Our sex life is, though, even for my experiences, very vanilla. I never have had oral sex in my life before and only twice since we met. Suggesting it to her usually meant that she'd lecture me about not doing those things, and sex for the night was a no-go. In those pictures she did all the things she never wanted to do with me. Since that day I have tried to confront her a number of times. She stays out longer, lately, not just since last week, for the past 4 months maybe, and she's often too tired for anything romantic, even just cuddling. And when she comes home she often disappears in her office and comes to bed long after I have fallen asleep. But even during the time we had together, like this weekend, I can't bring myself to confront her. I am worried about what I might hear and what this would mean for our relationship. I still love her very much and can't imagine a life without her. How can I summon the courage to do this? Is there a way out of this? Next story. Found out that my 40M wife, 39F, cheated on me 5 years ago for up to 9 months, and she is not at all remorseful. The story. 5 ago we were both in our early 30s. My wife is very, very beautiful and sexy, green eyes, beautiful face, fit, sexy body, big breasts. She is also intelligent, a professional with her own career and financial independence. Myself, women have always found me appealing. I had quite many girlfriends before we married 7 years ago. I'm also an independent professional with an excellent income and a prospective career. After we married, I have never cheated on my wife, although I have had many opportunities, some of them of the kind not to miss. My wife only has had one boyfriend before myself. Not that she says much about her first boyfriend, but the thing I know is that they haven't had any vaginal sex since she was virgin when we had sex together for first time, pretty much time after starting to date and not long before we married. This is not a big surprise, since she have received quite a conservative education by her mother, a very, very restrictive one indeed. Currently, however, she is quite open and liberal with respect to sex. Our marriage was in the beginning difficult, mostly because of interfering parents and financial difficulties. We loved each other but have had quite serious fights and even thinking to divorce. 5 years ago we have lived far from each other for 9 months, since I left for another country due to a job. She lived these 9 months in the city where we married and where also lives her former boyfriend. After these 9 months she came to live with me and we never came back. When I left before this period of 9 months and left her alone, we were in quite bad period of our marriage, writing angry emails to each other or not calling each other for a week or so. During this time she had both reason to cheat, deteriorating relationship, and opportunity. Her job and her former boyfriend's job were nearly at the same place. I know, not any secret, for instance, that they have had lunches together many times, alone or with other colleagues. Former boyfriend is 10 years older than both of us, but kind of Don Juan, appealing to women, and I'm sure that he would not have missed opportunity to compensate for, not entirely, consummated relationship when he was dating her. I can imagine he has been quite badly surprised during that time, such an experienced guy and big lover not managing to bring the things to the end with such an attractive girl. Anyway, when, at the end of those 9 months my wife and me reunited again, our relationship immediately improved. There were no disturbing factors as interfering parents and financial problems, and continues happy till these days. We have a baby daughter together and rely on each other and love each other. One thing that surprised me very much the first night after those 9 months of separation was a big change in the sexual behavior of my wife. During the first 2 years before the period I'm referring to, we had intense and relatively good sex life, but still she seldom was reaching orgasms. The night after the period of 9 months, during which I suspect she cheated with her former boyfriend, she had 3 explosive orgasms, and in the weeks and months after that she had a very strong sexual drive. She also became open to new things in bed, has been achieving orgasm every time we have had sex, even multiple orgasms, even crying after orgasm, whatever you can imagine. It was a phase transition, from enjoying sex but being conservative and quite passive, to a sex machine. Currently, we still enjoy very intense sex, obviously not so explosive. My point is that such a change is usually associated by sexologists/psychologists with cheating/getting disinhibited/gaining new experiences when cheating, or feeling guilty, crying after orgasm, never happened to her before that period nor after it. My delicate tries to understand what the reason for this brutal transition ended up with some semi-angry short comments because I missed you terribly, maybe, or maybe not. Her former boyfriend is currently married with 2 children. He regularly sends my wife emails for her birthday and for Christmas. These emails are short and nearly formal, except the familiar pet name he calls her, and except some short comments which can be interpreted one way or another depending what you know and believe. But to me they are not totally innocent, hint to possibly some well-kept secret between them and not one related to their unfruitful tri-relationship from the time before I met my wife. Emails which don't even send kisses, but still. Where do I know about the emails? Okay, I started to become a spy maniac after a considerable effort. I cracked my wife's passwords and can access her email. In addition, there have been occasionally some comments by my wife, very ambiguous ones, that could possibly mean something like, besides you are handsome and sometimes hot, and also a good friend and a good companion. There are men who are more men. I don't know in what sense, possibly, better lovers, but more probably she means something like more authoritative, powerful, commanding, not particularly myself, and it's known that some women, possibly many of them, value such features. Although it's not much politically correct to admit it. Anyway, I am getting more and more obsessed with this old story of possible cheating, because I have been loyal during all these years and because I love her. Recently I found what was a statement by the ex-boyfriend about backdoor sex. Well, with information that I have gathered over time with her conversations with him, I finally confronted her. After a good bit of interrogation, she admitted to having an affair. What irks me the most about all of this is that she isn't in any way remorseful. I have asked her for a timeline of what happened. She doesn't want to share that. I said that I wanted to contact the other man's spouse. She was completely against that as well. She isn't showing any sign of remorse. I don't want to divorce her, but I have grown more and more resentful. She said we had sex, so what? I have considered to have an affair to get revenge or some type of response out of her. I know I am not in a proper emotional state right now. It's not even the affair that is getting me mad. What's really getting at me is the fact she doesn't feel like she did anything wrong and is making me feel like the crazy one. I have always had a hunch about this affair. It's been eating away at me, just the curiosity in itself. I have suggested counseling. She tells me I need to get over it, that we don't need counseling. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.